Sivir is the OG late game hyper carry. She can truly shine with her amazing utility, damage and safety, and in this Sivir guide you get everything you need to know in less than 5 minutes. Despite Sivir's godlike scaling, she is still surprisingly strong during the lane phase. You can easily hold lane priority just with your superior wave clear, forcing the enemy AD carry to farm under tower. This allows you to exert a lot of pressure early on, since you and your support can then roam to help your jungler, or poke down your lane opponents while they struggle to CS. Just do yourself a favor though and ban Draven. He can always run you down in lane with his superior all-in damage, and he will find openings due to your short auto-attack range, so make sure to avoid this matchup. However, except for this one scenario, Sivir's all-in potential is actually quite menacing, because you can find unexpected openings yourself with your passive. Movement speed is one of the most important stats in the game, and this really compensates for your short auto-attack range. In late-game teamfights, this bonus will pretty much always be activated, greatly improving your kiting, and during the early game you also trigger it effortlessly while poking your lane opponents. This gives you the opportunity to go very aggressive after just landing one good Q. This ability has long range, which allows you to play from safer distances despite your shorter ranged auto attacks. In lane, you use it to farm and poke, and in mid-game skirmishes it is your best follow-up on your allies' engages. During the late game though, you only cast this spell when you cannot get into auto attack range. Quick spoiler, because during later stages of the game, Boomerang Blade can easily be outplayed, you always build crit items on Sivir and not lethality. The lethality build sucks in comparison to the hyperscaling crit build, as it is way too inconsistent. Sivir's W is yet another strong tool for wave clear, but it is also what makes your crit build so extremely dominant. You are essentially landing AoE crits on the entire enemy team with this spell in the late game, which also gives you a lot of freedom in terms of positioning. It doesn't matter if you can merely attack the opposing front line, because with your W you will passively melt the back line as well. Sivir's E-spell is probably the most skill-intensive ability in your kit. Not only do you need to know what you can or cannot block, you also need to know which spell would be worth blocking in the first place. If you let the enemy bait this cooldown out of you, they can easily find an opening, as they most likely saved their more impactful spells to punish you for taking their bait. You have to be very deliberate with this tool, and it truly can make or break your late game teamfighting. Do not just overextend because you might think your spell shield could protect you. Instead, you should do it the other way around and wait for the enemy to overextend into your spell shield. Use it as bait yourself instead of getting baited by the enemy. Your undisputed best tool for solo queue teamfighting though is Sivir's ultimate, and you should also remember to click the subscribe button. As I've said, movement speed is quite overpowered, and with this team-wide buff, Sivir comes with enormous engage and disengage potential. When you can read situations correctly, knowing whether an ally or an enemy is out of position, you can turn the entire game around with just a single button. Now, in order to ensure you consistently get to your godlike late game, you go for Fleet Footwork, Presence of Mind, Legend Bloodline and Cutdown, with Magical Footwear and Biscuit Deliveries secondary. Fleet Footwork is an amazing rune for the early game, further adding to your engage potential with movement speed, while also granting valuable health regeneration, which makes holding lane priority that much easier. Additionally, Sivir scales so extremely hard with items that a more offensive keystone would simply be overkill. It is just way more important to keep your early game strong, increasing the probability that you actually reach your late game in the first place. Presence of Mind and Biscuit Delivery are picked for very much the same reasons, ensuring that you can safely farm with your spells during the lane phase. Running out of mana would leave Sivir exposed, giving your opponents lots of opportunities to punish your short auto attack range. Legend Bloodline in combination with your keystone is more than enough healing in the mid and late game, allowing you to go full damage in your item build. You rush the item Gale Force every single game, further amplifying your kiting potential. While Kraken Slayer would be more damage in the late game, Gale Force is the superior one-item power spike, and Sivir doesn't really need to kill tanks particularly quickly since your W bounces carry your teamfights anyway. Your next item, Essence Reaver, allows you to spam your W on cooldown for even more bonus damage, while also fully solving all mana issues you still might have. Once you finish your third item, Infinity Edge, you will start to completely dominate the match with your massive AoE W crits. This is the big power spike you've been working towards all game, and now you can truly solo carry your team to victory. From here you get Lord Doms to ensure your damage stays relevant, and your last item is then Bloodthirster for 100% crit and perfect dueling. Now this was highly condensed of course, but for a more in-depth look at Sivir in the current metagame, just click the link on your screen right there.